Substitute sacrifice. Exodus 29:15, and you shall also take one ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram. As they were imparting the sins of themselves and the people, the ram was to take their place and become sin on their behalf and die on their behalf. Leviticus 4:15, and the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands on the head of the young bull before the Lord, and the young bull shall be killed before the Lord. And again, laying the hands, the bull was to be the substitute sacrifice for the sins, iniquities, and transgressions of the people. Numbers 8:12, and the Levites shall lay their hands upon the heads of the bulls, and you shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering to the Lord, to make an atonement for the Levites. Whether it was forgiveness, whether it was redemption, forgiveness, atonement, there was a substitute sacrificial system that was in place, that God had put in place. When we think about the holidays, the feast days, and these are listed in Leviticus chapter 23, Shabbat, which is the Sabbath, the seventh day of the week, Rosh Chodesh, the new moon, Pesach, Passover, HaMotzot, which is the feast of unleavened bread, Omer Reshit, the feast of first fruits, Shavuot, the feast of weeks, or Pentecost, Yom Teruah, the blowing, the day of trumpets, Yom Kippur, the day of atonement, Sukkot, the feast of tabernacles. All of these special days and times and seasons all had to deal with offerings. They all dealt with substitute sacrifices. They all pointed to something very important. They all pointed to the ultimate substitute sacrifice, the substitute sacrificial offering system that God had in place. The temple, the Levites, the priests, the offering, the sacrifices, substitute sacrifice over and over and over again through the Word of God that we read about, all pointed to Jesus, Yeshua, and His sacrifice. Colossians 2:16 says, let no man therefore judge you in meat, or in drink, or in respect of an holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Messiah. So there was something more important than the meat offerings and the drink offerings and these special days and the Sabbath days. There was something more important that these things were pointing us to, and that being Yeshua. Sacrificial system had its important purposes, and it pointed us to an ultimate sacrifice. Sacrifice of Yeshua. Just as they laid hands on the sacrifices, this substitution system pointed to the great substitution of Yeshua, Jesus. Abraham, the father of the faith, God spoke to him with some very interesting instructions. In Genesis 22:2, and then God said, now take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you. And so he did as God instructed, and Isaac carried the wood, and they took a few days' journey to go to where they were going. In Genesis 22:7, but Isaac spoke to Abraham his father and said, my father. He said, here I am, my son. And then he said, look, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? Genesis 22:8, and Abraham said, my son, God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering. So the two of them went together. There would be a lamb that would be provided one day for everyone, everywhere. As far as Abraham was concerned, Isaac was that lamb at that time. Isaac was the substitute for the lamb. For whatever reason, he just trusted God. Maybe he didn't understand, but he trusted God. Genesis 22:9, then they came to the place of which God had told him, and Abraham built an altar there and placed the wood in order. And he bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Trusting God, obeying God. But he found a lamb. He found a ram caught by the horns in a thicket, and an angel stopped him before he sacrificed his son. And the angel spoke certain words to him, and the ram or the lamb became the substitute for Isaac as he found the ram there caught in the thicket. Really was a picture of Messiah Yeshua. Genesis 22:14, Abraham called the name of the place, the Lord will provide. Jehovah Jireh, Yud He Vav He Yireh. As it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be provided. This word from provided comes from the word Yireh, which means the Yireh, provided, comes from the Hebrew word Ra'ah. It means to see, to appear, to provide, to present oneself. Yud He Vav He Yireh. Jehovah Jireh. The Yud He Vav He means he shall be. The letters mean hand, behold, now behold. The name speaks of mercy. Yireh can mean to present oneself, to provide. So when we look at that all together, it really is truly a message of the gospel pointing to Messiah. Genesis 22:7, blessing I will bless you, and multiplying I will multiply your descendants as the stars of the heaven and as the sand which is on the seashore, and your descendants shall possess the gate of their enemies. In your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. He trusted and obeyed God. Galatians 3:16, and to Abraham and to his seed the promises were spoken. It does not say in two seeds, as of many, plural, but as of one, to your seed, which is Messiah. The seed pointed to Jesus, Yeshua. Hebrews 11:17, by faith Abraham, when he was tested, offered up Isaac, and he who had received the promises offered up his only begotten son. Hebrews 11:18, of whom it was said, in Isaac your seed shall be called. Hebrews 11:19, concluding that God was able to raise him up even from the dead, from which he also received him in a figurative sense. Abraham trusted God. God gave God his faith, and God gave many promises and many blessings. As Yeshua was talking to those around him about Abraham, he said this in John 8:56, your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. It's believed that it's possible that Messiah did appear to Abraham on different occasions, maybe even as King Melchizedek, maybe as one of the visitors by his tent, maybe as the angel of the Lord, maybe as the ram in a thicket, maybe in other ways. 2 Corinthians 5:21, he made him, God made his son, who knew no sin, to be sin on our behalf, that we might become the righteousness of God in him. He made him who knew no sin to be sin on our behalf, so that we might become the righteousness of God in him. Righteousness for sin, sin for righteousness, substitute sacrifice, just for the unjust, innocent for the guilty, righteous for the wicked, good for the bad, life for death, grace for sin. What a deal. What a great substitute deal. What a great plan. We unjust, God makes us just. We guilty, God makes us innocent. We as wicked, God makes us righteous. We as bad, God makes us good. We spiritually dead, God brings us life. We full of sin, God gives us grace. John 11:49, and one of them, Caiaphas, being the high priest of that year, said to them, you do not know anything at all. John 11:50, nor do you consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and not that the whole nation perish. John 11:51, and he did not speak this of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yeshua, Jesus, should die for the nation. John 11:52, and not for that nation only, but also that he should gather together in one the children of God who were scattered abroad. John 11:53, then from that day they took counsel together that they might kill him. Death for life, life for death. Messiah gave death so that we could live. He gave his life for the spiritual dead that they may live. Abraham in this story represented God the Father. Isaac represented Jesus, Yeshua the Son. The two men, we could say, represented Jew and Gentile, or maybe even the two men on the crosses there with Yeshua. The wood represents the cross. The fire represents judgment. The ram represents Messiah. The thicket represents the crown of thorns. This name, Yud He Vav He Yireh, represents the good news of Messiah. It is the power of God unto salvation. Substitute sacrifice. Messiah died so that we could live. What a great deal and a great plan that God had. We give him ourselves, our righteousness, which is like filthy rags, and he gives us God's righteousness. Isaiah 53:4, surely he, Messiah, has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. Isaiah 53:5, but he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. What a plan, what a deal. All we, like sheep, have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. On Yeshua. Yeshua is the sacrifice with which paid the price for everyone everywhere. This substitute, the ultimate sacrificial offering, the ultimate substitute offering that was given for everyone, that they give him their lives, that they give to God their sin, and God gives to them his mercy and kindness and forgiveness. Substitute sacrifice, Yeshua, Jesus, he paid the price. Receive it today, believe it, receive the good news, spread the good news to everyone everywhere.